I found a new way to build a personal brand in 2024 that others are not talking about. Building a personal brand is simple if you find a unique way of doing it that nobody else is doing or talking about. I'm going to tell you a story of how I left my 9-to-5 in 2021 and have been wandering through this creator world for the past 2 years to find this one thing. I finally found a way to make money. I found a way to replace my 9-to-5 W-2 job and get to the cash I need in a simple way. It's easy if you follow this framework that I've put together. But before we get into that, I want to tell you this story, a story about how I've pulled apart all the creator businesses that I've wanted to follow. I've gone back in time to see how creators like Dan Koh, Iman Gadzhi, Alex Hormozi, and Ali Abdaal have been all able to do this. They all do interviews talking about how they focus on the niche being you, focus on your passion, and you'll find your way. That's simply just a lie. They're all lying to you. It's not because they want to, it's because they just don't seem to recall how they started. It's important to start somewhere that's a very small niche. So Dan Koh focused on copywriting. Iman Gadzhi focused on social media marketing agencies, or SMMA. Alex Hormozi talked about sales, and Ali Abdaal was a doctor helping people figure out their tests. So you can't just think about doing everything at once, right? They can talk about anything now. Anybody's gonna watch their videos because they have millions of followers. But if you go back in time, their first videos were about one specific niche that helps people make money, and then they built on top of that. I've spent the last 2 years figuring out and working on one true skill that I believe everyone needs to do to get out of their 9-to-5 and start building their creator journey. It's the easiest skill to learn that doesn't require you to do anything crazy like go spend 4 years in a university or even talking to people on the phone. I'll get into what this skill is a little bit later, but for now, just know that there's a way for you to break your 9-to-5 with one simple skill, and you can learn in a few months and turn around to start making $10K a month so you can quit too. Now, I put together a free email course on all of this at activatecreatormode.com, and you can click the link below in the description to get signed up. Now, let's get into this 5-step framework for building a personal brand with ease. So step 1 is defining the niche of you. The niche of you, and I don't mean start blogging about what you want to do with your kids or what you did over the weekend. That's back to my point about the creator saying just blog about or talk about anything that you want. I mean, who really wants to hear about my weekend running around in the backyard throwing a football or figuring out why the sprinklers aren't working for spring? Here's what you need to think about. Your knowledge. No matter if you're 21 or 41 like me, you've got more knowledge on a topic than others do. 95% of the world is consuming content, not creating it. By thinking about the knowledge you have in any area, you're gonna find something that others are gonna be interested learning about more. And then your experience. You've spent time building up experience by working some type of job that someone has paid you money for. That experience can be leveraged in some way to help you identify the piece of your niche of you. Now think about what that looks like so you can weave it into your story. And we could talk about whether it's niche or niche or whatever, but that doesn't matter. What matters is those two things plus then figuring out your interests. All of your interests need to be laid out in a list format for you to understand what you truly like spending time on. Once you've done this, layer in knowledge and experience buckets to think through how you want to build a unique value proposition, or your UVP. Now, here are the action items to build the niche of you. Number 1, write down all the categories of which you have knowledge in. Make a list of all your professional experiences you've had and list out all your interests. One of them is golf for me, and make a good list. And once you've done that, you need to think through your tagline, which will include the following: the one target persona you're helping, what you're helping them with, and how you plan on helping them. So here's my tagline for my YouTube channel. I help creators start their personal brand by activating creator mode with the Creator Kickstart Guide. When you break this down, here's what it looks like. The who is content creators, the what is starting their personal brand journey, and then how is this email course that I put together that I'm calling the Creator Kickstart Guide. My tagline's simple and straightforward, and you know who I help, why you'd want to pay attention to my channel. So how are you going to actually make money from all this? Well, that's step 2. That's part 2 of this 5-step framework, and it's your monetization strategy. Now, think about this. Ali Abdaal says that we're going to see 50 million people start a YouTube channel in 2024. 2024, but only 2% of these channels will ever get to 10,000 subscribers. That's a million channels, which may seem like a lot, but it's really not. When you zoom out and look at the creator economy, being in the top 2% of creators will allow you to leave your 9-to-5 job, but you need a strategy to help you figure out your income to do this. So that's why a monetization strategy is vital to creating a successful channel that you're gonna stick with for the long term. This is also back to my point about why creators saying do anything, or even joining Ali Abdal's part-time YouTuber Academy. It's about being a YouTuber. It's not, they don't start with thinking about the monetization strategy first, they think about that last. This is the way that I'm thinking about it, and here is how it fits into the strategy. So you need to figure out how you're actually gonna make money, and you'll need to start with the end in mind. Think about what knowledge, experience, and interest you have that can build a unique value proposition that nobody else can provide. The most ideal thing is leading people to that one thing that you can provide, and ideally it's some type of skill. The most successful people I've seen are focusing on one persona, one thing, one way. And here's what I mean by that. So one persona, this is a group of individuals that you relate to. This could be someone you were in a past role or someone you can relate to. This may also be someone that you believe can help. The one thing, this should be something someone wants to learn. It could be a skill, a digital product, software, or process, something unique that you've done, whether that's figuring out how to use Notion or changing spreadsheets. It could be anything. Your one thing and your one way. This is what you create. It could be a course, a community, a coaching program, consulting offer, or a combination of all these. Alex Hormozi just started working with school to build out the school games, where they're challenging people to use that platform as the one way. He's now part owner with Sam Ovens, where they're converting everything from a community that is into a low monthly fee associated with learning something. Go check out the Alex Hormozi school games and you'll see what I mean. But here are some other examples. So Iman Gadzhi has a video that is the best online business to start as a beginner in 2024. His one thing is setting up a 10K per month ROI marketing agency with Agency Navigator. That's his one thing. Alex Hormozi is leading everybody to his book on his channel, $100 million Leads, because that is the lead magnet that leads people to acquisition.com and leads people back to school to build a community. And while he's doing that, my ask is that you go and write down your tagline and combines these three things together. This is the bulletproof way to define your niche. And as you're thinking through this, you need to think about those three categories and industries of how you'll actually make money. There's really only three ways that you need to weave all this together back into one of three things. Either helping people make money, helping them become better at some type of relationship, whether that's with their spouse or partner, or if it's friends, and then health, losing weight, gaining muscle. It's just how you look. So you may be thinking to yourself, well, what the heck am I supposed to do? How am I going to turn what I'm doing into something that's in these buckets? Well, that was my challenge too. I worked for 15 years in a world where I was working on sales. I could plug that into making money, but I just really wasn't interested in teaching that or doing things, teaching people sales for the next 10 years, because I'm gonna do this with this channel for the next 10 years. That's my long-term plan, to help other people activate their personal brand. And yes, it's important, and yes, everyone needs to do it, but that's not something I really wanted to talk about for the next 10 years is sales. So my plan is that I've spent the last 2 years after leaving my traditional job, wandering through the woods, trying to figure out what is going on in this world and what is the right way for people to actually create their personal brand. And that's why I'm creating this video, is to help you understand that. So I wanted to be into something that I could really dig my teeth into and love doing, no matter how long it would take. So the one thing that I have focused on is digital writing, and I believe it's the most important and powerful thing that you can do to build the niche of you. Think of digital writing as a skill. What skills do you have or that you could learn and be 2 to 3 steps ahead of others? That's me right now. I'm realizing how important this is so much that I'm reading a book a week on the topic. And I just finished reading copywriting skills or copywriting secrets, and I'm gonna write my newsletter on this topic, incorporate in life. And there's a link below to join the newsletter where I break down thoughtful books into 4-minute reads every Wednesday. I thought I was gonna fail at this, and I thought I wasn't gonna be cut out for finding a skill that would allow me to make money online. Well, I was wrong, and here's why. Anyone is capable of learning a new skill. You need to focus on finding that skill that falls into one of those 3 buckets to make an impact in this world. This is not about me. This is about you and finding what you believe is that one skill that will really get you there. Now, let me tell you more about digital digital writing and why I believe it's really the only skill that you need to succeed on your own out here. Think about this question. Did you know that digital writing powers everything on planet Earth? I know that seems ridiculous, but I mean, we're not drilling for oil with writing, and we're not going to the moon like Elon Musk does with SpaceX. But think about it. Any digital thing that you do or consume is built off of digital writing. So anything you've seen on TV or the movies is scripted, which is written words. If you've ever watched a presidential speech, there's a script writer behind them, making sure they get the points across that they like to. They've reviewed this, they're reading the words. This also is a stretch for going into short form content on LinkedIn or X, or even YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, right? Like those videos are scripted, potentially, and the good ones are where people have thought through what they're gonna do, they've written it out, words. And we're only at just the beginning to see the shift from brands to creators to have the influence to capture this attention in the market. Here's how I think about digital writing and how I believe you should too. So the hook is intro to a YouTube video or headline on a news article. It's what captures the viewers or the reader's attention, keeps it. Being able to write compelling hooks is one of the most important and impactful things you can learn in 2024. The content, the actual content, so once you've captured the reader or viewer's attention, you need to have compelling content that keeps them connected to you. The goal of this is to build the trust, so much so that at some point in the future, they take action that you recommend they do, right? Like I'm telling you, click the link below to join Activate Creator Mode, my 5-day email course, or go join my newsletter, my weekly thoughtful book breakdown, right? And then the action. And this action could be a sponsorship you've made or product you've built or just simple engagement on LinkedIn or what I was just talking about with the stuff I'm asking you to do. The whole point there is to build trust with them over time. So how do you actually figure out how the heck to leverage digital writing to make money? Well, that's step 3 of this framework, is the digital writing frameworks that make you money. And it's in 3 parts. Number 1 is designing those clever hooks that capture attention. Number 2 is incorporating power words and build a lead into it, which is adding a personal touch, and then writing spectacular stories and compelling your audience to do something. Now, let's rewind time. Let's go back in time to 1994, when most of you weren't born yet, probably, that are watching this. So when I was 12, Wired, which is wired.com, it was a magazine, it's still a magazine, and they gave birth to banner ads on October 27th, 1994, and the click-through rate was, get this, north of 20%. And now on ads, we're at 1 to 2%. It's wild how much things have changed since I was 12. This is true, and it's covered more in detail in a book I read by Tim Huang. The book title is Subprime Attention Crisis, which talks about how the next bubble that's about to burst is the ad market for Meta and Facebook and Google and Amazon and everybody else using ads. It's wild to me that Meta or Facebook is at an all-time high, and they've leaned into focusing on all the ads. You see it when you're scrolling Instagram, you see it in these videos on YouTube, but we're all becoming numb to scrolling through ads, and our attention is moving towards creators and individuals that are teaching us versus trying to have us click on a freaking ad and sell us something. We're all getting better about realizing that we don't need to do that, and this is why the time is right now for you to build out the niche of you and understand how to capture the attention of your future audience. So here are the pieces that you need to understand related to designing clever hooks. There's a few parts to it. Understanding the 4 Ps method, using proven approaches, and putting the pieces of the puzzle together to write these viral hooks. Let's jump into the 4 Ps method and get going. It's ridiculous, but it took me 15 years to realize that this was the most important thing to understand in order to leave my job. I would have done this years ago, but now I'm sitting here and talking to you on YouTube about doing this, and you can do it today. No matter if you're 10, 15, 20, 30 years old, it doesn't matter. Learning this is going to change your life. And it's not because I didn't know how to do this, and it's not because I didn't know where to find it. It's because I was spending my time trying to solve the wrong problems in the wrong place, which led me down the wrong path. And now, this is why I want to share this knowledge with you in a simple and condensed format that's easy to use. So here are the 4 types of hooks I use to capture attention. Number 1 is practicality. These are statements that typically start with, here's how. These will allow you to build and tell a story in your way. With all the AI-powered BS that's out there creating content that allows you to pull from personal story and weave it into a short hook, Precision's number 2. This is the type of hook built specifically off data points and typically is a list of something you want to share. These are proven approaches that you can leverage in order to build a more compelling hook. Number 3 is positivity. This is the story of the underdog that prevails. It allows you to build a storyline of how to be positive, never give up. It leads you to continuing on the trajectory you're going. I use this one to tell motivational stories that I want to share. And then perspective, this is the type of hook that typically starts with, here's why. I use this when I'm trying to explain something in a step-by-step process. It works well when breaking down a complicated thing into simple steps and parts. You're also going to need to leverage the use of proven approaches. These are words you can incorporate into your hooks that allow you to build the right story that you want to tell. Using these proven approaches, right, there are many ways to frame up saying the same thing, and leveraging these approaches that work and incorporating into what we just talked about with the 4 Ps are the ways that you're going to be able to stand out day in and day out. So the proven approaches of how you do this are thinking about these 4 Ps in categories. And I'll put this up on the video so you can see it and mark this down, or again, it's in the course that you can go to at Activate Creator Mode. But number 1 is how to, lessons learned, mistakes, quotes, ways, tools, trends, stats, reasons, examples, and embarrassing moments. So think about these proven approaches can be used time and time again to build out your hooks and capture attention of the reader and then listen or for the viewer. So how you put the pieces of these puzzle together to write these viral hooks, there's an art and a science to building these compelling hooks that keep someone's attention. So here's how it works. Think of something you want to share, a personal, a third-party story. Choose one of those 4 Ps that we talked about that you want to use for the piece of the content, and then decide which proven approach or method you're going to use. And here's some examples so it can all come together for you. If I start with an idea of starting a YouTube channel and I want to use the type of hook is perspective that you can see on the video screen here. So ideas, starting YouTube channel, types, perspective. Then the proven approach is trends, right? Going back to our list of all the different options of what you could pick. And here's what that would look like. Here are 4 trends on why starting a YouTube channel is the most powerful way to build an audience in 2024. Now, if I wanted to spin this differently, here's another example with the same type of idea, but the type of hook is going to be precision and the approach is mistakes. So here's the header and the hook. 5 mistakes everyone makes when starting a YouTube channel. It's leveraging the same idea, but choosing a different type of hook and a proven approach, which can take you down a completely different storytelling path. These are pretty powerful, so be careful because you're learning something that 2% of people in the world really master. And once you've been able to master this art, it's important to start adding in power words and creating a lead, which adds a personal touch. So, what are power words and why do they matter? That's a great question. Everything you read on the internet is using power words that at least captures your attention to have you click on that thing if they're any good at their job. So think about when you're scrolling through Apple News, if that's something you do, or wherever you get your news. And all the headlines, those are what are hooks, and they use power words. And think about when you're scrolling through Instagram too, and you're seeing ads in the captions that pop up because it's muted, but there's captions there, and it's someone wanting you to click on that unmute button. And think about all the articles that you read and that allow you to just keep reading. And now you're going to have this ability too to get people to click on your attention-grabbing content. Here's what we're going to get into: what power words are and why they work, the power word library with a list for you to copy and use, and then building examples of hooks with these power words with our 4 Ps framework. What power words are and why they work is really, they're just persuasive words we can use in copywriting to elicit an emotional response from the audience that you want to build. And they fall into 7 main categories, which I'll put up on the board here: anger, curiosity, encouragement, fear, greed, lust, and trust. Those are all feelings that you have when you hear certain types of words. And they work so well because it's going to grab someone's attention, and you'll start to increase people clicking on that read more button on LinkedIn or continuing to listen on whatever video or audio platform it is. And there's a reason why I'm calling them power words. So sign up to get the list and the templates, Activate Creator Mode in the link below. But here are a few examples of hooks leveraging those power words so you get an idea. This is the example. Here's how to find the greatest storytelling advice. It took me 10 years to find these 3 storytelling tips to change my life forever. Precision, here are the numbers. So the numbers piece, this is an example of using precision and creating a hook. 3 jaw-dropping things I wish I could tell my 21-year-old self. I'd have 2 million more in the bank and only working 3 hours a day if I did these things. So think about that one, right? The first part, 3 jaw-dropping things, jaw-dropping being the power word. I wish I could tell my 21-year-old self. I'm 41, so this would be 20 years ago. And then the personal thing of connecting it back to I'd have more money in the bank and only working this amount of time if I did these things, which is true. And then I can go into the story. But think about that hook. Now, positivity of focusing on the positive thing. This is another example differently, but you can read this with me. You can never win if you stop playing. Here's the surefire story to 10x your productivity and win the game. Surefire, meaning that's the power word, and story, and then using numbers, 10x your productivity, that helps people. And then using the in parentheses hint, you can never stop playing. So that is another example of a hook that could be created based on using power words and incorporating the same framework. Now here's a version for perspective, or the here's why. I've been in an ice bath 30 days in a row and never felt better. Here's why cold immersion therapy is a tested path to turn you into Superman or woman. The words in there are incredibly powerful when you're using it in the right way. Now, you can use these hooks to add extra sizzle to gain attention, and they work, and if used correctly in writing, are extremely powerful. So if you try it out and let me know what you think. Now, let's move on to framework step number 4, writing spectacular stories and compel your audience to take action. Here's a quote I love from someone I've looked up to for the past 15 years. And I really want you to hear me when I read this, because it's extremely important when you're going through and building this out to really build your personal brand. Quote, people may forget what you said or what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. That's by Doug Landis, who's the former chief storyteller at Box, works at Emergence Capital, and helps organizations and people figure out the right way of telling stories. Stories create intrigue and interest that connect to your audience, and you'll find that the listener is more attentive than reciting a list of facts. If you've been able to add in a surprise or emotion in the story, it's going to increase them remembering you and that story, right? Like if I'm telling you a story, it's much more impactful about what I was saying at the beginning of this video over the last 2 years of wandering around in the woods of this creator economy world to figure out that one thing which we're talking about. But now you're going to get proven methods that allow you to incorporate expert storytelling methods into your writing. So let's go on this journey together. Here's specifically what is important to remember. Creating the journey using emotion, how to use metaphors and analogies to make it real, being contrarian and focusing on the transformation of that person, and how to create a journey using emotion. So that's what we're going to talk about next, is how to create a journey using emotion. The storyline has 3 main parts. There's the beginning, middle, and end, obviously, which you need to remember as you're building out your content story. The hook will capture their attention, but you need to deliver on what you're saying in that content. Once someone hits see more, or they like the title of the video, they're hooked from the video introduction, and it's important to build the story as you've promised it. So here are some of the even more specific ways you can make this happen. You create a story arc that is the things to remember versus a set of facts. Provide links to the prior knowledge as you're telling the story, linking back to other things as you're building this story arc. Providing a way to organize that story and summarize what you covered at the end. So an example that I like to tell is something Chase Diamond posted on X that shows how to build out stories and emotions further. So here's the example. Red Bull gives you wings, right? We've all heard this quote, and we've got the bottle or the can that has the wings on it, and we've all heard this quote and we know exactly what it means. It's a metaphor for what it does for you, or to you, depending on how you want to look at it, and helps you take on the world. Creating images in the reader's mind will change how they interact with you. And now you've got the wings to fly into a new story for a metaphor that works well for you. Now we're going to move into how to be contrarian, focus on the transformation. What I mean by that is if you're telling someone's transformation story, it's much more impactful than telling a set of facts and how that person got there. So one of the stories that I love is Rudy. It's a transformational story. If you've never seen the movie, go watch it. He's doing the contrarian thing or continuing to come back and focus on transforming himself into an athlete. It's a great story that makes me think of Nike too. Nike's one of the best at focusing on transformation versus laying out a set of facts. Their tagline tagline is just do it. It's a testament to that. Their advertising and focus around transformation is world class. So here's an example of V is for victory, where Nike combines two storytelling things into this ad. Look at this, pretty cool. Think about how you could do something similar with your writing. All right, now we're moving into step 5, which is picking your first platform and posting your content. Did you know that according to Nielsen, who does ratings, they came out with insights showing that YouTube is the most watched platform out of any streaming service out there for the last 12 months in a row? It's wild to think about that YouTube has surpassed Netflix, Prime Video, Hulu, Disney Plus, and every other streaming service. This is a massive opportunity that's only going to grow for new creators coming into the market. Mr. Beast videos get more watch time than the Super Bowl, each one of them. I'm going to say that again. So Mr. Beast and his videos get more watch time than the Super Bowl does. That is wild, and I still don't really believe it, but it is true. So let's talk about the right way for you to pick your first platform and start posting for 30 days. All right, so the items to think through when you pick your platform is meeting the audience that you're talking to on the platform they live on. You're not gonna find CEOs of Fortune 500 companies streaming YouTube videos on how to make money online. You're also not gonna find an 18-year-old looking for CEO advice on TikTok. The point here is that you need to define and refine who your persona is and meet them on the platform, right? Like what we had talked about before, the one person, the one thing, the one way. One way is writing. The one thing is what you need to figure out, and the one person is obviously you need to figure that out on what platform that they mostly live on. So you need to transform into your character, right? So as you're creating the niche of you, it's important to realize that it's a character of you. It's gonna weave together what we discussed in the first email of the course that you can get access to, the link below, but you need to transform into this person, right? On LinkedIn, I talk about personal branding, writing, and you need to embody what you're gonna talk about and embrace that character too, right? So I'm talking about personal branding on YouTube and LinkedIn, soon to be Instagram. Just embody who you are about that one thing. And then there's short form versus long form content. And the most important thing to build trust with your audience is to tell long form stories on video on YouTube like this. And all the short form written or video content should be used to push people where you can tell your story in a way that we've talked about earlier. In order to get to long form, you need to master short form content first. Focus on the short form content platform you spend the most time on. This could be video or text. I've started with LinkedIn because I don't really have an interest in working on Twitter or X or going on to Instagram or TikTok. That's just not where I spent most of my time. So I figured out a way to weave together my platform with the persona that I'm talking to. Now, I want to make sure that the platform has your ideal customers on it, and that's where they live, so focus on meeting them there. And then really lean into your character and start building out the content strategy and profile that fits what your audience is looking for. Turn your written words into viral videos. Dan Koh's content repurposing strategy is crazy. It's mind-blowing, actually. So his newsletter is his YouTube script. His YouTube video turns into Instagram and LinkedIn posts. It's pretty simple and effective to build one large newsletter. Dan calls it the co-letters that can be repurposed into other media and content. That's his strategy, and that's why we're gonna get into how to go about doing this effectively. So the way we're gonna talk about this is in 3 things. We're gonna talk about how to organize your time to actually make this happen. Then we're gonna talk about how to make your writing work for video platforms. And then we're gonna get into a couple other things that are gonna be really important. So did you know that a focused 1 to 2 hours a day is all you need to actually build your personal brand and start this? And here's how you're gonna do it. You're gonna start with, or at least here's how I did it. I blocked off time daily to get into deep work sessions, which means turning off all distractions you have and focusing on one thing for 1 or 2 hours, and is by far the best way to build your business. Open up your calendar and find a time that you can commit to every weekday and block it off. It may change weekly, but start with next week. Then don't get distracted. It's really simple to want to open up your phone or click on a social platform during one of these sessions, but just don't. Focus on your deep work session. It's incredibly challenging to hold yourself to this 1 or 2 hours, but it takes practice, a lot of it. It's taken me a long time, and it took me really 28 days of committing to doing this. At first, I was grabbing my phone, I got notifications, it was a distraction, and it was really hard. But I got through it, and now I have these sessions blocked off. I want you to think about what I've done, which is building in a backup spot. Things are gonna come up, and you're gonna miss a session or two sometimes. And it's important to know that you're human, that's okay, but the important thing is that you hit the deadlines that you've set for yourself, and build in the ability to have some cushion of being able to build this out. So finding other times in the week as backups in case that doesn't work. Now, let's get into how to make your writing work for video platforms. Everything you watch on TV or YouTube or Instagram is some kind of script. It might be bullet points someone's working off of or fully scripted that they're reading. Like we've been talking about, storytelling is powerful, and working towards building up that story is one of the most important things that you can do. That's why it's important for you and us to focus on how to go about leveraging this new writing skill and repurposing it into video. Here's how to do it. When you create those hooks, the introductions of any written content can be the hook for the video content. Whether you like it or not, you have less than a second to capture someone's attention. This is for the written word, it's along with video too. Then we want to go into crafting the story. This is what we discussed earlier, but on storytelling, but focusing on the arc of the story and allowing you to weave a story into it is paramount. Telling a story is an art and a science, but it's important that you build your stories into what you're going to tell on any platform. As you're writing out your words, imagine yourself reading them out loud. It's important and a meaningful step to crafting the right story. So when you write that, read it out loud. Does it sound funny? Is it the way that you'd speak? Are there things that you'd want to add into it, take away? And then once you've been able to do that, then you want to pull people off of the platforms, right? So they're all rented space. You need to think about what differentiates you from the rest of the noise. And that's why I'm saying the one thing needs to be really compelling. What is that one thing that you're going to do for people? For me, it's this educational email course. Go click the link below, join activatecreatormode.com, and then that weaves people into my weekly newsletter. Think about what your lead magnet is as the most powerful way of creating an audience that you're eventually going to turn into leads of some kind for whatever that thing is that you're going to do. All right, we've covered a lot. And if we recap what we've gone through, it's been a 5-step framework of defining the niche of you the right way, not what big creators have told you. Number 2 is creating the monetization strategy that works today. Then getting into the digital writing frameworks that will make you money. Then the 4th thing is writing these spectacular stories and compelling your audience to do something. And then picking your first platform and posting content. So what's next is actually pulling this off and doing it. I highly recommend that you go click the link below to get this in written words for you to be able to go through step by step, day by day, using Activate Creator Mode, the creator blueprint that I put together, the Kickstart guide. And then I want to make sure that you watch the monk mode video to help you become more productive and actually turning this into a reality where you'll be 10x more productive. So go watch that video next, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks everyone.